Hi, I'm Craig Rowland, founder of Sandfly Security. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and do a bit of a deep dive into some of the results that you'll find when you use Sandfly's agentless intrusion detection and incident response platform for Linux. Let's hop over to the user interface and I'll show you how it all works. Now, if you've seen our other videos, we've already shown you how to install and add hosts to Sandfly. Plus, we've shown you how to do a manual scan. Now, when the scan's complete, you're probably going to have some results that you want to investigate, and that's what this video is going to cover today. The first thing we're going to do is we see that we have some results coming back after scanning some hosts. So we scanned the host for about 28,000 different results across all of our hosts, and only 22 of them showed alerts. So we're going to go ahead to our results view here, and we see we have two different systems that are showing us alerts at this point, and we're going to want to dive into those. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this one host here called diamorphine. Now, this diamorphine host has a loadable kernel module stealth rootkit called diamorphine, oddly enough, and that rootkit will basically hide all of its activity from any view on the host. So if you log on to the system, you're not going to see any processes it hides. You're not going to see directories or binaries it hides. You might not even see certain file data that it might contain as well. These rootkits can basically do a lot of things to scrub their existence from the host from normal command line tools. However, Sandfly is perfectly capable of decloaking stealth rootkits, and this is one of the questions we get a lot. A lot of people say, because we're not in the kernel, that you can't find stealth rootkits on Linux. That is absolutely false. We have never ever had trouble finding rootkits from user space using our techniques, and by not tying into the kernel, we are vastly safer than agent-based systems that deploy into the kernel and have a host of compatibility and performance trouble. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you a few basic results inside of Sandfly that illustrate how this rootkit would be detected. First of all, by clicking on any of these results here, you'll be able to get the forensic data. Now, the results you see here, this is what we call an alert stack, where essentially we're not identifying the specific rootkit, because although this rootkit is called diamorphine, the reality is a lot of attack tools on Linux are all open source. They're very easily modified and turned into custom adaptations, and diamorphine is no different. It is used as a base for many different types of rootkits, along with Reptile and several others. And that means that essentially we're going after the tactics of how they hide, not the specific name of the malware itself. The name of the malware is completely irrelevant to us. So the first thing we're going to see here is that we have found a file hidden called diamorphine secret sleep. We essentially took a sleep command, and if you put the word diamorphine in front of it, it won't show up in the file system listing. So if you log on to this host, you will not see this file if it has the word diamorphine in it. And again, this can be changed by an attacker, but the default is that word diamorphine will not show you that the file's there. The basic forensic attributes are going to be available to you at this point. You can click on any one of these search buttons here, and we'll show you any other hosts that are running that same file. So here I see actually two hosts that have that same file that were identified on it that we would might want to look into later. But the other thing too to understand is that all of our result data is available in a raw JSON format. This JSON can be sent out to an external SIEM or security operations center of your choice. So all this data that you see available in our user interface is identical to what you get in the alert console of your Splunk or your Elasticsearch or whatever it is you're using for a global level view of what's going on. So down here, we'd have all the information about that file, including the various hashes, who made it, when it was made, permission sets, and on and on and on. Another thing we would have down here, if I go back to that result host, is we might see other interesting things running. So for instance, a process running that was hidden. So again, I told you earlier that we took a process called the sleep process and we hid it on this host. We have decloaked that process. So even though you can't see it with normal command line tools, Sandfly has decloaked that process and we're showing it to you. You get all the information about what's going on. And again, we use the benign sleep process in order to demonstrate, but this could be a malicious backdoor or anything like it. The raw result JSON data is always available here again with the process data, including the parent process information would also be available as well. And we also have the ability to do an AI analysis. Now I've already run one on this particular result. Today we are demonstrating using the Gemini LLM. Gemini 3 from Google is actually a very good product. We like using it quite a bit, but also OpenAI, the XAI platform, and you can even run private LLMs inside of your enterprise as well. They all provide pretty good information and detailed breakdown analysis because our forensic data that we pass into these systems is so good. We don't leave them room to speculate. So in the case here of this hidden process, by clicking on this and running analysis, it gives us a brief and an overview of what's happening. The brief is very simple. Process run as host is actively being hidden from system utilities, a strong indicator of a kernel rootkit infection. Yep, very much so. We give a brief overview of what's going on about the process, what we might think be happening on the system, details about that process as well, including process information that can help you. Plus, we also will have the LLMs offer some investigation advice, which is extremely helpful for security teams that might not have a lot of Linux expertise, or even if you do have Linux expertise, these might give you some tips and tricks that you might not have considered before. Now, another thing that we can do when I go back here, I'm going to go to another host here called the Sandfly drifted host. Now, this is using our drift detection to find any changes that might have happened to this system. Now, this system here is part of a number of cloud systems that are supposed to be identical, but this one showed a drift on it with a variety of problems. We're not going to hit all of them today, but we're going to go ahead and go to our process list, and we see two processes that started that were not part of our standard installation. So the first thing here is we found a process called SR71 with PID 2192 that's running on this host. Again, all that process information is here. If I click on a hash, I see it's only running on one host. Now, if all my hosts are supposed to be identical, the fact that I have a unique process running on only one host is actually extremely suspicious. I should see this process running everywhere, but the fact that it's only one host immediately puts me on high alert. The other thing here, I can see this command line looks very strange. Again, that raw result JSON is always available to you. And also, again, I run an AI analysis. So if you're running drift detection, you don't know what a process is doing, have the AI systems give you a hint. And here, when I click on this result, it says here an unauthorized process named SR71 run in the host listen network with evidence of anti-forensic techniques. So it's taken our JSON data, it has broken out all the key relevant fields, and has determined, based on the information we provided, that this is likely a malicious process. So we've gone ahead here, we've put down the different details, we said it's a drift from the baseline, it's running under high privileges, it's got a network port listening here, a network listener. So again, everything here is shaping up to being something not potentially very friendly, including deleted libraries, because we deleted this process binary from the disk in order to hide its activity. So we have everything here. Now, the other thing about the results that could be very helpful to you is you can actually ask follow-up questions. What are the chances that this is malicious or a false positive? And then we can ask the system itself, it's going to consider that question and come back with its analysis of what it thinks happening. And you can actually run down pretty extensive details about what the process is or suspicious activity is. And the LLMs can provide really, really insightful information, especially if you know what questions to ask. So it says down here, based on the forensic data, the likelihood this is a malicious process is extremely high. The possibility of this being a false positive is exceptionally low. And again, it's going to break down again why it thinks it's malicious. Now here, we knew that this command line has this weird command line arguments that we see up here. So again, I can ask follow-up information such as what command line tools use this on Linux here. So I'm going to say basically what command line tools use this command line parameters on Linux. And we can see here if it can give us a guess as to what this tool actually might be, because obviously it's not called SR71. And this again can help you figure out, again, a lot of open source tooling that's being repurposed for attack purposes, often called living off the land techniques. This could help you isolate a little bit more about what's going on. And so it's an excellent question. It says highly characteristic of a well-known versatile networking tool called Netcat. And yes, that is in fact what this is. This was a Netcat utility that was renamed to operate as a backdoor. And again, all this information is available to you. Now, the thing is about all this again, or you could see all the results broken down individually, or again, you could go to our host view, and if I click on the host itself, I could see the results for that host listed down here, as well as, again, a full AI analysis. If I run that AI analysis of the host, it's going to take all the results that we have on that system, run it through the AI analysis, and then it's going to give you a synopsis of what it thinks going on. For the demonstration here, it says this host has multiple high severity alerts indicating a likely compromise with an unauthorized user, active backdoors, and multiple persistence mechanisms. So again, this is just how our result information can be used from the manual or the automated scans to break out a little bit more about what's going on the system. And best of all, we do it without deploying endpoint agents, which means that high stability, that low latency, great performance, and very, very, very low risk of causing system instability issues on your network. And as you can see, we can also find even very advanced stealth attacks that people often think can only be found with kernel level modules. That's not true at all. Sandfly has perfectly good capabilities to find all this stuff, and in fact can go well beyond many agent-based systems and the types of attacks that we can actually find. It'll really surprise you. So I'm Craig Rowland from Sandfly Security. Thanks again for watching. Check out our other videos. We're going to go into other operational aspects of the product as well, including automated scheduling, drift detection, advanced drift detection techniques, SSH key hunter, and plus a whole bunch of other features that are really great and powerful and done completely agentlessly, which I think is the best part of our product. It could save you a lot of time and aggravation by deploying it against your Linux fleet. So thanks again for watching. Craig Rowland. Please check out our other videos. Thanks again for watching, and goodbye.